Charlie was only alive for 31 years. That sucks.
I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job.
There's a stretch of audio in the AmFest 2025 opening that fails every test I ran. It's in the walkout piece, the second of 2 productions in this opening. The audio that played as Erika walked on stage includes the line that allegedly put Erika Kirk in the CEO seat. The deepfake detector hits 100% on multiple seconds inside of it, including the second where he supposedly says the magic words. And then there's what was cut out. 2 stretches of Erika's actual speech are missing from 2 different YouTube uploads of this AmFest 2025 opening. These are different cuts from different channels, both at moments where she was off script or her wording was getting called out in audience comments. Oh, and there's a sponsor ad running on the Charlie Kirk Show podcast 5 months after he died, with his voice spliced into the middle of it. We'll come back to that as well. A quick recap on how we got here. The tribute is a memorial. The walkout piece is a legitimacy statement. I need you to listen to how that's phrased because nobody talks like that. I appoint. That's legal language. That's a declaration. That's someone establishing a record, not having a conversation.
You'll learn that about me the more that you get to know me. I know I'm new here, but you'll learn. You'll learn.
So, which is it? Were you pre-appointed by Charlie, handpicked as part of his master plan, or are you new here? A founder of a 501c3 does not have appointing power. The board does, and only the board. 8 days. That's how long it took a 4-person volunteer board to unanimously decide that the founder's widow should run an $85 million nonprofit. And not just as CEO, but as chair of the board too. Those clips are from the first video. If you missed it, the link is up here. Today you will see what I've been working on. I built an index of every Charlie Kirk recording I could find, over 18,000 sources, hundreds of hours of him talking. The most likely thing not in the index is interviews he gave on other people's shows. These are harder to pull at scale, but I grabbed everyone I could find. Then I ran every Charlie clip in the AmFest 2025 opening against the index. Parts of it trace clearly to real Charlie or real Erika events. Other parts reuse audio that also appears in other post-death TPUSA productions, but can't be traced to any pre-death source. And there's one stretch, 6 clips including the appointment line, that doesn't match anything. Not pre-death, not even other post-death TPUSA productions. These are the same seconds where the AI fakeness detector lights up harder than anywhere else in the file. First though, the file itself is weirder than it looks. Several different channels posted this content online, and the cuts don't all match in interesting ways. Fox News streamed the event live on their YouTube channel and left their archive up afterward. A 25-minute file titled Erika Kirk Speaks at Turning Point USA's annual AmericaFest. The description line under the video says, courtesy TPUSA, which means TPUSA supplied the footage and Fox aired what they were handed. Whether the feed was already edited when TPUSA sent it, or something got dropped on Fox's end, or it's a glitch somewhere in the chain, I can't tell you from where I'm sitting. What I can tell you is some of what's missing from that file is conveniently timed. Magno News also covered the event and split their coverage in 2, a tribute version and a speech version. That split is notable. They grouped the walkout piece, that is the legitimacy statement audio containing the appointment line, into their speech upload, not their tribute upload. Their tribute version ends where the first video ends and before the second one starts, the one with the appointment. When you line Magno audio up against any of the other streams in the editor, Magno is visibly louder and the peaks look clipped, mastered hotter than the originals, probably re-leveled for social media playback or something like that. That sort of aggressive level boost may affect the results, so I use Magno only as a structural cross-check. What's in their files versus what's missing from the other streams, not for the fakeness scores. RSBN live streamed the event and have 3 different cuts of it on their channel. A long live replay of the full day of the event, plus 2 shorter standalone cuts of Erika's section. There's a story behind those 3 versions. Again, I'll get to it in a minute. TPUSA put up 2 different uploads that work differently from each other. The first is on TPUSA's own channel, titled Intro Video. a roughly 7-minute file that ends before the appointment line. If you watch any other upload of the tribute, you will see audience shots, crowd sounds like cheering, the camera moving around. The TPUSA upload doesn't have any of that. There's no audience, no camera movement. It looks more like the raw program feed sent to the screens at the event itself than the broadcast cut everyone else has. The TPUSA channel version is basically the clean source, and they ended it before the appointment line. The second upload of interest is on Charlie Kirk's own YouTube channel, which people from TPUSA's orbit have been operating since he died. Super creepy, by the way. That one skips the memorial tribute entirely. It picks up at the walkout piece and runs through Erika's full speech. TPUSA had a clean copy of the source recording, the version that fed the in-venue screens, without the audience shots or broadcasters mix on top of it, and chose to end their tribute upload before the appointment section. They never posted that clean source with the appointment line in it, not even with the music and other effects over it like the tribute itself. The appointment line only shows up on the Charlie Kirk channel upload, which uses the regular broadcast source like everyone else, with an ad bolted to the front, read by our favorite Andrew Clovett. Two of the public uploads, Fox's and RSBN's live archives, are missing certain specific convenient portions of Erika's speech. I'll come back to both in detail after the audio analysis. 4 tools went into the analysis. Quick rundown on each. The first one is Resemble. It's a paid commercial AI detection service trained on modern AI voices. You feed it audio and it gives you a fakeness score for every second, 0 to 100. Under 50 reads as real, over 50 reads as fake. That's what colors the strip along the bottom of the screen and the main overlay on individual clips throughout this video. The same audio captured through a different broadcast pipeline can come back at a noticeably different fakeness level, so it's 1 signal out of 4. The second one is audio cross-correlation. You take 2 clips, slide one over the other, and measure how similar the bytes are. If it's the same recording, you get a high score. If it's unrelated, you get something near 0. I'm using 30% as the cutoff for calling 2 recordings the same audio. Anything below 30, I treat as no match. 30 to 50 is a borderline match. Above 50 is a strong match. And every X-score number you see in this video uses that color scale. Red, under 30%, yellow, 30 to 50, green above 50. What we're working with here is not ideal by any means, and the AmFest 2025 opening has music and sound design layered on top of Charlie's voice across both the tribute and the walkout piece. Cross-correlating against an unmixed pre-death recording won't work directly with all of that on top, so I strip the music and sound effects out of the opening clips first, then compare the voice-only result to the original pre-death recording. That's the comparison the numbers come from. The third one is plain text search across every Charlie Kirk transcript I could find. Over 18,000 sources, every podcast, speech, live stream debate. For instance, I would take a phrase from the AmFest 2025 opening and check if Charlie ever said those words pre-death. The fourth tool measures audio edits per second. Splice points leave a signature. Multiple acoustic features jumping at the same frame, the way an audio cut looks. Clean live audio has a low splice density. Spliced together audio has a high one. Caveat up front, music transitions, sound effect hits, and big mix changes can also register splices in this measurement because they look the same to the algorithm. So a clip with a lot of music or effects layered on top will read higher than a clean, unmixed recording. That's why this number is 1 signal among the 4, not a verdict on its own. The splice per sec value is the count for each clip. That means splice per second. Splice density catches audio edit points, but music transitions and effects register the same way to the algorithm, so it doesn't distinguish between a real splice and a heavy mix change on its own. This opening has all of that on top of the speech, which adds noise to the readings. So, one tool can mislead you. 4 stuck together is much harder to fool. Let's get into the audio. The first section is Charlie's stock origin story.
In life, you will realize the more rewarding thing to do might be the more difficult thing to do. That is a guaranteed way that you will experience opposition. The most important question is not whether it is easy or not. It is it worth it? And the more often that you choose the deep, the difficult, but the right path over the easy path, is one that will reward you, your family, and this beautiful nation. We are in a spiritual war, everybody, that is beyond just the material that we are seeing. This country was founded by courageous Bible-believing Christians. Jeremiah 29:7, seek the welfare of the nation that you are in, because your welfare is tied to your nation's welfare. What makes this movement different is that you are here as a grassroots response to the top-down revolution happening in this country. Disobedience to tyrants is obedience to God, because liberty is not man's idea, it is God's idea. Will the people who are the sovereign in this country do everything they possibly can with this incredible blessing given to us by God to fight back and win? When Turning Point USA was started, I could not have imagined what God had in store for this organization.
My political journey was in the midst of the Obama craze in Chicago. As someone who was generally conservative, I realized this generation, millennials, is going to be the most progressive generation in history if we don't do something about this.
We're active in about 15 campuses, and we're growing very, very quickly. And keep in mind, this is not just a flash in the pan movement. We're going to become an institution to give them the power and the confidence to stand up and let their voice be heard.
I was 18, no idea what I was doing, no connections, no money. We didn't have an office, we didn't have a staff. It was just me just traveling the country doing this pure grit, pure energy. We are an organization committed to ideas and to principles, not the political parties or politicians. We are in a generational battle right now that the stakes could not be higher. And the experiment and the gift that our founding fathers gave to us could be easily lost if we don't make the proper choices, the right course of correction.
Founding TPUSA, no money, no connections, pure grit. He said versions of this in every speech for 10 years. Here is him saying nearly the same words at a 2023 college stop.
Our advantage. It is pure grit and hustle. Yep. And
the audio is different. He said versions of that line many times pre-death. Over 30 distinct sources have it. 8 of those I had audio for on disc and could run the comparison on. None of those 8 matched the tribute's version. Same story for every other phrase in this section. Voice Be Heard shows up in 23 pre-death sources.
Okay, it takes courage to come up at a conservative event and let your voice be heard. So just take a day off work to even show up and be able to, have our voice be heard in the local town center or town meeting. Call and let your voice be heard.
8 of those I could pull audio for. No match on any. Pure grit, pure energy shows up in 8.
Our advantage. It is pure grit and hustle. Yep. And
4 of those I could test, no match. Text-only sources or broken archive links. Each of these phrases has multiple pre-death versions on the record. You can hear them. None of them match the tribute's audio. The words exist on tape across multiple speeches. The recording in this tribute doesn't trace to any of them. But here's something interesting. The tribute's audio for these lines doesn't match any pre-death recording. It does match somewhere else though. Another post-death production.
We didn't have an office. We didn't have a staff. It was just me just traveling the country doing this pure grit, pure energy. And I was driven by core ideas and core principles that we should be thankful, not angry, to live in this country. Would you agree? We should be thankful. We should be kissing the ground and say we are the luckiest human beings ever to exist, that we are able to live in this country. At this time, America is the greatest country ever to exist, period, bar none. Is the greatest country ever to exist, right?
The Wall Street Journal broadcast Charlie's memorial service in September 2025. Inside that broadcast, there's a stretch of Charlie audio, 6 phrases that the tribute uses too. Cross-correlation between the 2 productions runs from 36% on a partial overlap clip up to 90% on the strongest match. That strongest match is the pure grit, pure energy line at 90%. Basically waveform identical. It's the same recording. 2 TPUSA controlled productions, the WSJ Memorial and this walkout, both using the same chunk of Charlie sounding audio. Where did that chunk originally come from? I don't know. I can't find a matching original recording in any pre-death source. One more thing on this. I went looking for the source recording itself. Honestly, the audio sounds real to me. I just can't find the original anywhere. What I did find is a handful of older TPUSA videos shot on the exact same backdrop. So my guess is this was recorded in Phoenix, probably inside a TPUSA studio. I also found several other TPUSA video thumbnails using photos of Charlie in that same suit. So whatever the original recording is, the visual setup ties it back to one of their internal productions. Maybe. Whether there's a real speech somewhere I haven't found, or whether the chunk was reconstructed post-death. I can't say from the data I have. Every live version of Charlie's founding story I could pull audio for uses the same word order. No money, no connections, no idea what I was doing. 8 different recordings I tested and many more found in transcripts, all using that exact word order.
With no money, no connections, and no idea what I was doing, I was sitting in a garage in Lamont, Illinois, with no money, no connections, and no idea what I was doing. Only in America, though, could an 18-year-old with no money, no college, no connections, and no idea what he was doing start something from nothing in a small garage.
Because here I was 18 years old, no money, no connections, no idea what I was doing.
No money, no resources, no connections, quite honestly, no idea what I was doing.
But if you're 18 years old and you have no money, no connections, no idea what you're doing, I had nothing to lose.
I had no money, no connections, and no idea what I was doing.
With no money, no connections, and no idea what I was doing.
I had no money, no connections, no idea what I was doing.
With no money, no connections, and no idea what I was doing.
No money, no connection, and no idea what I was doing.
No money, no connections, no idea what I was doing. No money, no connections, no idea what I was doing.
Again, we started with no money, no connections, and no idea what I was doing.
Want to reiterate what the great Erika Kirk said the other day?
Charlie, who would always say, you know, when I started this, I had no money, no connections, and I had no idea what I was doing.
The tribute flips it. No idea, no connections, no money.
I was 18. No idea what I was doing. No connections, no money.
The WSG Memorial uses the same flipped order.
I was 18. No idea what I was doing. No connections, no money.
Both inherited the inversion from the same shared asset. So the pattern for the tribute is Charlie audio that gets reused across at least 2 TPUSA productions, with the original recording not in the public archive. And the word order doesn't even match how Charlie actually said the line on stage anywhere. Quick aside before the next section. There's one clip here that I want to highlight because it works as a clean example of something the cross-correlation tool can and can't do.
That's a lot of people, Utah, I'll tell you what.
So that line he says, that's a lot of people, Utah, I'll tell you what, Charlie says it on tape, pre-death, the day he was killed.
That's a lot of people, Utah, I'll tell you what.
That's from a video that was posted from the UVU tent on September 10th, the morning of the event. It looks like a phone recording of him saying the same line at the same event picked up by a totally different mic than the one feeding the walkout tribute. The cross-correlation between the tribute's audio of that line and the ex-post's audio is 18%, below the 30% same source threshold. That's what 2 different recordings of the same moment look like in this test. He's saying the same words on the same stage in the same minute, but each version got picked up by a different microphone with different background noise on top, so the underlying audio samples don't line up. Cross-correlation is checking whether the bytes match. 2 real recordings of the same words on different microphones will fail that test. So when you see no match on later clips, this is one of the things no match can mean. It doesn't automatically mean the audio is synthesized. It can mean it's a different recording of the same words. That's also why I lean on other tests like the per second fakeness pattern. Alright, as we get into the clips of interest, quick note on which broadcast I'm scoring from. Most of the numbers come from Fox's upload. TPUSA's intro video fills in the early TPUSA history opening where Fox hadn't picked up yet. So why not TPUSA's intro video for everything? Well, it doesn't include the walkout piece at all. The appointment section has to be measured inside the same submission as the verified real anchor clips, so the comparison is internally consistent, and Fox is the source that holds both the tribute and the walkout piece in one file. The one gap. Fox starts its broadcast a few minutes into the tribute itself, and the opening minute is a bit weird. So for the first several clips of the TPUSA history opening, I used TPUSA's intro video to fill in the non-consequential stuff in the beginning. Everything past that point is Fox. Why Fox over RSBN? There are 4 clips in this opening where I can prove the audio is real Charlie speaking pre-death. 3 from AmFest 2023, 1 from YWLS 2023. I pulled them out of Fox and out of RSBN and ran the fakeness test on each. Fox reads all 4 real correctly. RSBN calls 2 of them fake. 2 broadcasts of the same on-stage moment running through possibly different mics and surely different mixers and encoders, ending up at different fakeness numbers. In the case of RSBN, it's clear that the fakeness score is responding to something downstream of the speech itself. Alright, listen to it once, and then I'll walk you through what I found.
I want to honor God in all that I do. I want to be a great husband, a great father. I want to serve this country. I want to try to continue to lead this movement and to speak truth and to never lie. To stop thinking about yourself all the time and instead think about what you should do to help other people and to defend this country above yourself.
I want to honor God in all that I do appears in 0 pre-death sources out of 18,000. That earlier attribute phrase, we should be thankful, not angry to live in this country, also 0. As far as I know, Charlie never said either of those exact sentences pre-death. The other phrases, Charlie said similar things, but never the exact wording. 28 pre-death sources have something like continue to lead this movement. 43 have something like speak truth and never lie. 25 for defend this country above yourself. Close, but never the exact words. Charlie said the ideas across a decade of speeches, but here's what's strange. None of those pre-death recordings actually match the tribute's audio. I tested all of them against 4 pre-death speeches. Gen Free Tour at San Diego State 2021, Gen Free Tour at University of Kentucky 2021, California State Fullerton 2022, and the Fullerton Q&A track. By the way, look who I found here.
Iraq, my wife and I, we're high-risk humanitarians.
The best match I got across the entire Honor God section was 16.5%. That was, I want to honor God against Gen Free San Diego. The other 6 phrases in the section came in lower. 14% on the great husband, great father, 14% on serve this country, 13% on lead this movement, 14% on speak truth and never lie, 9% on stop thinking about yourself, 13% on defend this country above yourself. Highest across all 28 tests, 16.5. Same recording threshold as 30. Nothing close. That's the noise floor for Charlie saying these words on a stage against unrelated speech audio. None of those speeches is the actual source. Same words on tape, but a completely different recording underneath. 43 pre-death sources have some version of speak truth and never lie. I pulled the audio for everyone I could resolve and ran the comparison. None of them matched the tribute's version. Same story for each of the other 6 phrases.
God bless you for wanting to serve this country. And that's really credit to you, Riley. You've been leading this movement. You're a great father. You're a great husband. You're a great entrepreneur. So you better stop thinking about yourself and thinking about the cross. Meaningful, to elevate above yourself.
Charlie said the ideas. The words are on tape multiple times each, but the tribute's audio for these lines is not the same recording as any of those, at least the ones I could pull. Of course, there are still the few that I couldn't, so the possibility is there. And the third thing is where it gets interesting. The tribute's Honor God audio does match, strongly, one specific post-death production.
I want to honor God in all that I do. I want to be a great husband, a great father. I want to serve this country. I want to try to continue to lead this movement and to speak truth and to never lie. To stop thinking about yourself all the time and instead think about what you should do to help other people and to defend this country above yourself.
That's TPUSA's All-American Halftime Show, a 37-minute video TPUSA put out on February 9th, 2026, 6 months after Charlie died. The Honor God monologue plays at the end of the show. The first 7 phrases of it are the same audio as the AmFest Tribute's Honor God section, above the same source threshold on everyone. The halftime version keeps going past where the tribute cuts off, with another half-minute of the same monologue we haven't heard before. The next day, the Charlie Kirk Show podcast plays the same clip, and they introduce it as
"This played at the halftime show last night."
And going through that podcast, I noticed something else weird about a minute and a half after the monologue plays. There's an ad for a debt relief service called Done With Debt. Standard sponsor copy at first, but halfway through it, Andrew's voice cuts out and Charlie's voice cuts in.
Done With Debt are legendary negotiators when you go head-to-head with your credit card and loan companies. They have one goal: to drastically reduce or eliminate your debt altogether. Most clients see more money in their pocket month 1
That's a sponsor-paid ad running 5 months after Charlie died, with his voice spliced into the middle of it. I ran the whole clip through Resemble before and after Charlie's voice, and the audio reads clean, 0 across the board. Inside Charlie's section, there's 3 seconds spike at 92, 99, and 100% fake.
Takes to get you the biggest reduction possible, and whether you're carrying $10,000 or $500,000 in debt, this is probably the best chance you'll get all year.
Done with Debt are legendary negotiators when you go head-to-head with your credit card and loan companies. They have one goal: to drastically reduce or eliminate your debt altogether. Most clients see more money in their pocket month one.
Do not wait for the lenders to tighten up their policies. Here's what you need to do. Schedule a free consultation. There's no pressure, and it only takes a few minutes.
But again, not every second, so it's kind of confusing for me. Maybe there was some pre-recording done ahead of time. Maybe this was one of those VFX LA things where they go and they have somebody physically say the words and then modify them to make them sound more real. I'm not sure what's going on here, but it's certainly odd. And this wasn't even a one-time thing. This exact same ad with Charlie's voice spliced in runs across 8 different Charlie Kirk show episodes between January 13th and February 19th, 2026, all post-death, 125 to 162 days after he died. On those ad reads, I searched the full archive. Every Charlie Kirk show episode I could index, 18,000 sources total, 4 phrase searches for the exact ad copy. 8 episodes hit. All 8 aired between January 13th and February 19th, 2026. There are 0 pre-death matches for this exact text. Am I the only one that finds this creepy and kind of gross? So we have 2 post-death TPUSA productions with the same asset. Whether it's one private Charlie speech TPUSA recorded, or a stitched together compilation, or something else, I can't tell you. The asset's original speech isn't in any pre-death source I can search. And I looked hard, over 18,000 sources indexed, plus 25 gigabytes of unindexed Charlie speech videos run through direct audio matching. Every full speech on disc. The audio isn't in any of them. That doesn't prove the recording never existed pre-death. It proves the recording isn't in my archive. Could be a private TPUSA recording, could be a stitched compilation, could be something else entirely. I'll get to candidates near the end of the video. Now a clean section. Here's the tribute version.
You still live in the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world. There is still so much to be hopeful and to be thankful for. And we have agency.
Then here's Charlie at AmFest 2023 saying the same words.
It's too hard. It's too overwhelming. It's too dark. Snap out of it. You still live in the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world. There is still so much to be hopeful and to be thankful for. And we have agency. The globalists are worried.
You still live in the greatest nation against the AmFest 2023 Day 1 livestream, 37%, above the same recording threshold. Still so much to be hopeful against the same source, 36%, also above the threshold. We have agency lands at 35% against the AmFest 2023 livestream. 3 real clips, all from the same AmFest 2023 Day 1 event. The receipts are there. Those 3 clips trace cleanly to a documented pre-death event with thousands of in-person witnesses. The Honor God monologue moments before this fits the pattern from earlier. Shared audio asset across post-death TPUSA productions. No findable pre-death origin. The greatest nation lines don't fit that pattern. They are real audio from a documented event. One stretch is verified real Charlie on a documented stage. The next stretch only exists inside TPUSA productions. They sit back to back in the tribute, playing like one continuous monologue. Now we get to the section that started the investigation. The line that allegedly put Erika in the CEO seat.
A lot of this could be done without me, and I believe that. I mean, from the high school department, the college department, let's make Turning Point so big that it can survive beyond just the founder. A lot of organizations and groups, as soon as a founder leaves, it just kind of collapses. A lot of my job is not always in the day-to-day details. It's very much vision casting, very much driving success. But we have a great board, and God forbid if something happens, they'll figure it out. I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job.
The appointment line section sits inside the same Fox audio file as the verified real Charlie clips you just heard. The Greatest Nation, Still Hopeful, We Have Agency, same broadcast chain captured the same way, 20 seconds apart in the file. So I can compare them directly, no cross-source confounds. Here's what comes back. The verified real clips average around 18% fake. The appointment line section right next to them averages around 73%, 4 times higher than the verified baseline. The clip just before the appointment line, the Great Board, God forbid if something happens line, averages 96% fake across its entire duration. That's the highest sustained mean on the entire file. And inside the appointment line section itself, multiple individual seconds hit 100% fake. That includes the exact second containing I appoint my wife. 4 tests, and the appointment line section fails all 4 of them. The first test is a text search. Did Charlie ever say any of these phrases on tape? A lot of this could be done without me. Close variants exist. The exact phrasing, no. Vision casting, very much driving success. The standalone term vision casting does show up pre-death about 6 times across his speeches and podcasts. 2 of those are in similar CEO and founder context. His final interview the day he died, and a Charlie Kirk show episode from April 2025 about running a team. The other 4 uses are in different contexts: political messaging, masculinity, civilization talk. But the verbatim walkout piece phrasing, very much vision casting, very much driving success as one sentence, is 0. And the audio of all those pre-death hits doesn't match the walkout piece's audio. I also pulled the pre-death clips that contain drive success, the iced coffee hour interview.
Turning Point USA have certain things that we expect and certain things that drive success. And it's a great way to kind of see what people are made of.
And a 2022 Charlie Kirk show.
Try to drive success, but instead to try to drive the country into the ground.
And cross-correlated the walkout piece fragment against each, all below threshold. God forbid if something happens, they'll figure it out. Close variants exist, none verbatim. I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA. 0. I searched the exact phrase, searched appoint my wife, searched run Turning Point USA if something, searched if something happens to me on its own. Exactly 1 pre-death hit across 18,000 sources, and it wasn't about his wife or TPUSA succession. It was Andrew on Charlie's Thought Crime panel, reading Virginia Jeffrey's 2019 note aloud.
In 2019, she wrote, "I'm not. If something happens to me in the sake of my family, do not let this go away or help me protect them. Too many evil people want me quieted."
Erika would do a great job. 0. The second test is audio match. There are 2 parts to this one. First against pre-death Charlie, second against every post-death TPUSA production I have. Both matter, and the contrast between them is the whole point. Pre-death first. I cross-correlated this section against every Charlie speech I had on disc. AmFest 2021, AmFest 2022, AmFest 2023 Day 1 and Day 4. The Christian Nation speech from July 2025, YWLS 2023, 6 full speeches spanning Charlie's stage life from 2021 right up to 2 months before he died. The best match across all of them was 11%. Threshold for same recording is 30, nothing close. Then I added more. Bold Men Night at Generation Church from November 2023, podcast appearance from June 2025, the Iced Coffee Hour episode. 3 more pre-death Charlie recordings, max correlation 24%, still well below threshold. 2 things worth noting. First, the short clips correlate higher with random speech just by coincidence. 20% on a 2-second clip is sitting at the noise floor for that clip length, not actually closer matches. Second, could heavy processing close the gap? For any one of those recordings, maybe. For all 9 simultaneously, no. If the appointment line audio actually came from one of these speeches, that one source would spike higher than the rest. Instead, every single one lands at the same level. 9 different speeches across 3.5 years, all coincidentally processed down to the exact same band, isn't how processing works. The appointment line section is structurally different from every other section in this opening. Other sections in the AmFest 2025 opening fall into 2 buckets. Some, the Greatest Nation lines, Charlie introducing Erika, the Freedom Will Endure passage, trace cleanly to verified pre-death events. AmFest 2023, YWLS 2023, the Medal of Freedom ceremony, Real Charlie, Real Erika, documents its source. Other sections, the TPUSA history opening shares audio with the WSJ Memorial. The Honor God monologue shares audio with TPUSA's All-American halftime show. Shared assets. The appointment line section sits in a third bucket alone. Doesn't match pre-death, doesn't match any post-death production either. Nothing. The third test is the per second fakeness pattern. The shape matters more than any single number. 3 panels, same kind of strip you've been seeing the whole video. Fakeness scores second by second. The first panel is Charlie at AmFest 2023. This first clip is verified real Charlie audio and resembles flagging parts of it as fake anyway. Look at the shape, jagged, up, down. That's what a resemble false positive looks like on real audio. The second panel is Donald Trump at the memorial, also verified real, also getting flagged in parts. Same jagged shape as the AmFest 2023 panel, same false positive signature. And the third panel is the appointment line section. Flat, the score doesn't move. Lead-in clip pinned at 96, appointment line pinned at 100. What matters is the contrast. The first 2 panels are resemble being wrong on audio I can independently verify as real. Documented pre-death recordings, words on tape. The high scores there are false positives I can explain. The appointment line section doesn't have that escape hatch. The score pattern doesn't look like the false positive shape that we saw earlier. The fourth test is splice density, audio edit points per second. The appointment cluster sits at the top of the file on this measurement. Vision casting is the highest in the whole opening at 7.7 cuts per second. I appoint my wife is at 6.6. The honor God section right next to it averages around 4. One important caveat, the splice detector also fires on music transitions and effect hits, and the tribute has a heavy music bed running underneath everything, so a couple of the verified real clips score high too. Greatest Nation is at 6.16, almost as high as the appointment line. Splice density alone doesn't separate the appointment cluster from the rest of the file, but stacked on top of the other tests, it adds another signal. The appointment cluster scores high on this measurement in the same range as the music heavy real clips and well above the rest of the file. That's all 4 tests, and the appointment line section failed every one of them. 3 cleanly, 1 with the music bed caveat noted. And again, less than a minute apart inside one Fox submission. The Greatest Nation lines pass the 3 tests that separate real from fake. The appointment line fails every test. I can't tell you what the appointment line audio is. I can tell you what it isn't. It's not in any pre-death recording, the words aren't in any pre-death source, and the per second fakeness score pattern doesn't behave the same way as the verified real audio we have on hand. One last thing about this section. TPUSA published their own tribute upload of this content on December 22nd. It ends at,
"We have only begun to fight."
They ended the tribute before the appointment line. The appointment line is in the longest broadcast uploads with all the extra layers of processing between the raw video and the live broadcasts. TPUSA didn't put the appointment line inside their dedicated tribute upload. When the people closest to the production chose where the tribute ends, they ended it before this section. The closing has 2 parts, Erika audio and Charlie audio, both real.
You are the heartbeat of this future and of this movement. Everything that Charlie built, you guys are the legacy holders of that. You are living proof that his mission did not die with him. It lives through you. And Charlie always said the next generation will decide whether freedom endures. And because of you, I know that freedom will endure.
The next speaker is a very, very special speaker, and she has had a heroic last year, and I believe she's the best mom in the world. She is my hero and the love of my life. Join me in welcoming Erika Kirk.
In case anyone's wondering where Erika's 2 lines come from, both are from her Medal of Freedom speech for Charlie, October 14th, 2025. One continues passage lifted into the walkout piece. Doesn't really matter for the analysis since Erika's standing there on stage at AmFest delivering the speech live, but here it is in the original.
You are the heartbeat of this future and of this movement. Everything that Charlie built, you guys are the legacy holders of that. You are living proof that his mission did not die with him. It lives through you. And Charlie always said the next generation will decide whether freedom endures. And because of you, I know that freedom will endure. It will.
These come from a 2023 YWLS speech called Live Your Life Abundantly, June 2023.
All right, the next speaker is a very, very special speaker, and she has had a heroic last year, and I believe she's the best mom in the world.
truly the best mom in the world, and how she...
Her work last year matches the YWLS recording at 43%, above the same source threshold. The other two intro segments come in at around 28%, below the strict threshold, but every other test of the same audio across multiple post-death productions matches, so this is the same 2023 source with extra broadcast processing on top. Real Charlie, pre-death, verified. Now, there's a curious detail about this Charlie intro. Same 15 seconds of Charlie introducing Erika used at least 3 times that I can find. Once during his life, 2 more times after he died.
She is an entrepreneur. She has her own podcast as well.
The best mom in the world. She is my hero and the love of my life. Erika Kirk.
You are here.
The next speaker is a very, very special speaker, and she has had a heroic last year, and I believe she's the best mom in the world. Truly the best mom in the world. She is my hero and the love of my life. Join me in welcoming Erika Kirk.
Good evening, Old Miss. Oh, man. Love you guys too.
The next speaker is a very, very special speaker, and she has had a heroic last year, and I believe she's the best mom in the world. She is my hero and the love of my life. Join me in welcoming Erika Kirk.
Before getting into speculation, one update from the days I was finishing this video. The Daily Mail ran a piece titled "Bombshell Secret Video of Charlie Kirk Naming His True Turning Point Successor Days Before Assassination." Look how they advertised it. A still of Charlie from a video taken by cell phone, a big red exclusive tag, headline saying "Secret Video of Charlie Kirk Naming His True Turning Point Successor." The implication is the article shows you the video. It does not. That still isn't even from the alleged Aspen footage. It's just one of the images Daily Mail rotated through their article carousel. A screenshot of Charlie Kirk's TikTok livestream from September 4th, days before he died. Nothing to do with Aspen. They used the familiar Charlie face in vertical phone screen format, paired it with the whole exclusive secret video thing, and let the reader connect the dots. The community note underneath is there to help out anyone who might be tricked by this. It reads, "There is no video of Charlie Kirk naming his successor in this article, nor has a video been presented to the public." What the article actually contains is one Daily Mail reporter who says Turning Point gave him an exclusive private screening of the footage. He prints what he supposedly heard verbatim. "I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA. If something happens to me, Erika would do a great job." Word for word what's in the walkout audio. One thing worth noting, the article cites Erika's late November Megyn Kelly interview as where she first revealed the details of what Charlie said at Aspen. But if you actually go back and listen to the interview, her paraphrase of Charlie's Aspen remarks ended with, "Oh, Erika will do a great job running it." And she skipped right past the formal "I appoint my wife if something happens to me" phrasing entirely. Here she is, November 24th, weeks before the alleged walkout audio aired.
Well said. We're going to continue on with the great Erika Kirk.
In August, before all this happened, he had a event where he had some donors at, and one of the first questions they asked was, "God forbid if something happens to you, like what would happen next to Turning Point?" And Charlie made a really interesting point. He said companies, example, Apple, Macintosh, he said they're founder-led. He said, but what I have built will one day, if I'm not around, be vision-led. And he had made mention at the end, Erika will do a great job running it. And when I watched that video this week, it really put into perspective my youth and what I went through growing up and what I witnessed, my mom having her own company and being a single mother.
That's her paraphrase. Erika will do a great job running it at the end. No, I appoint my wife. No, if something happens to me. The Daily Mail reporter's verbatim transcription has both phrases, including the formal appointment line wording Erika herself skipped past. The article also gives TPUSA's current reason for not releasing the video. Quote, "We never release investor videos to protect the privacy of those present at those gatherings, and we are not changing that policy now." That's the policy reason. Plus, the donor who asked the succession question doesn't want her identity revealed. That's 3 reasons in 7 weeks, none of them being the actual release of the video. The "we can't black out a face and mute a voice" reason is the most baffling. That's basic editing work. iPhone can do it. Candace responded to the article on her podcast Monday.
I gotta tell you, the more I listen to it, the more AI it sounds to me.
She has a printed photo of Blake Neff on her podcast set with a numbered day counter marking the days since she asked for the video. She's not backing off. There are 2 cuts to walk through. Fox first. The Fox stream is missing about 146 seconds from Erika's opening. Other streams and uploads of the speech have it. Fox's version skips straight over. Here's what was skipped.
This is a full circle moment for me. 2 years ago, my husband stood on this stage and said, "Here I am, Lord, use me." And boy, did he. You know, it's really interesting. The enemy has thrown a lot of curveballs at us today and this week and the past 3 months, and one of them is the fact that my entire speech has been wiped because my iPad won't even turn on, so that's a fun technical difficulty that we can figure out. So we're just going to wing it. We're just going to wing it. I was going to share with you stats. I was going to share with you all the things that we have going on building. So I'm going to just start it off with this. So last year, Charlie, I'll rewind. AmFest is Charlie's Super Bowl. Thank you. These are the stats. I got the stats, no speech.
So whatever the reason for the cut, the effect is that the version that ended up on Fox's channel skips the stretch where Erika is visibly off script, fumbling her way through a few minutes before she pulls it together. Possibility 1. The cut was made on TPUSA's side before the feed ever reached Fox. The onstage content was happening, RSBN had its own cameras capturing it, but the feed TPUSA sent to Fox didn't include those seconds. Fox put "courtesy TPUSA" in the description, which tells you where the feed came from, but not who decided what was on it. Possibility 2. Fox cut away from the on-stage content during the live broadcast to a commercial, a different angle, a host segment, and came back when Erika was past the iPad failure. The YouTube archive reflects what was actually on Fox's air during those minutes. Possibility 3. Technical issue. Signal dropped, encoder hiccup, automated ad break. The feed they were getting may have had the content, but what went out on Fox's air and got captured in the YouTube archive didn't. The second cut is in RSBN's live archive, a different stretch of the speech. RSBN posted their first standalone cut of Erika's section the day after the event. No walk-on, short on the crowd shots at the beginning and the end. That one got unlisted. They replaced it with a longer cut from the same day with Erika physically walking on, shots of the big crowds in the beginning and at the end, and we all know how much she loves her crowds. Both the standalone cuts contain a stretch that's not in the live version archive. The live archive trims it out mid-sentence. You can hear the first letter of the word once before the audio jumps forward several lines. Here's what was skipped.
Is that my husband, he deeply mattered on a multitude of levels, so much so that it proved even more once he was assassinated how much of a peacemaker he was and how much of a coalition builder he was. Because when he was assassinated, we saw infighting, we've seen fractures, we've seen bridges being burned that shouldn't be burnt. We saw a lot on full display. And what I knew as a wife, and I'm the same exact way as him, if you are trying to put up fight or flight mode, we're always fight mode. We don't retreat. Charlie would go wherever he needed to go, and I'm the same exact way. Same exact way. And you'll
Somebody at RSBN took those roughly 45 seconds out of the archive of the live stream, but missed them on the standalone Erika cuts. The likely reason is in the comments under the version that still had it. The top-rated comments timestamped that exact moment. Quote, "Weird wording. Once he was assassinated." 500 likes. "Once he was assassinated, she slipped up. Officially suspicious of her." Most normal people would say after. Once sounds like she planned it. Whatever you think of those reads, that's what RSBN's audience was doing in the comments, and that's the exact block somebody at RSBN later took out. What they have in common is the kind of moment that got cut. The Fox upload cut covers her iPad failure, the part where she's visibly off script. The RSBN cut covers a stretch where her word choice, "once he was assassinated," is exactly what the audience was timestamping in the comments. Both moments still exist elsewhere. Different uploads preserve different things. I can't tell you what each cut means or who made each call. I'm telling you, they're both there. They're both targeted the moments that played the worst, and they both ended up on channels distributing this content. Up to this point, everything was about what the data shows. From here, I'm speculating. I had a theory about the grade board line that it might have been scoring inflated because of context bleed from the appointment line sitting next to it in the submission. Resembles per second scores can shift depending on how you cut the clip, so I checked. 6 different submissions of the grade board section in my runs. Different cuts, music on, music off, alone, bundled. Every single one came back between 92 and 100% fake. The score did not drop when I isolated it. So, the resemble score doesn't separate the lead-in from the appointment line. They both read fake to the tool, regardless of how I slice it. Where this leaves me. The appointment line itself, that "I appoint my wife, Erika would do a great job," that's the part I'm most suspicious of. The lead-in might be real Charlie, super heavily processed. The wording sounds more like him, the cadence fits, but then again, maybe not. The appointment line still lands differently. It's more like a legal declaration dropped into the middle of casual speech. This is more of a hunch than a finding, but I thought I would leave it in here. The walkout piece is different from everything else I've shown you. One possibility is voice cloning or full AI generation. The tools exist. Voice cloning at scale isn't cheap or risk-free, but it's also not science fiction in 2025. The per-second fakeness score pattern, flat, pinned at 96 to 100 across the section, is consistent with that. Inside that bucket are a few different workflows worth distinguishing. One is straight text-to-speech. Feed a script through a model trained on Charlie's voice, audio comes out the other end. Another is voice conversion. What Candace mentioned VFX LA does. They take a different person reading the lines and convert their audio into Charlie's voice. The voice conversion route is more likely of the two for something this audibly natural in 2025, because it preserves real human cadence and intonation from a live read. Worth noting here, language models often reshuffle list items when they paraphrase. It's one of the most recognizable behaviors. The word order flip on the founding storyline, "no idea, no connections, no money," instead of how Charlie actually said it on stage, which is
"No money, no connections, no idea what I was doing,"
is exactly the kind of fingerprint you'd expect on audio reconstructed off a script that passed through a language model at some point, whether that script was then read by a person and voice converted to Charlie's voice or fed directly into a TTS model. Not proof of anything on its own, humans paraphrase too, but it's the kind of thing I'd look for. Another possibility is that the audio was stitched together from short, pre-existing Charlie clips, pieces of his actual voice edited into a new sentence that he never said end to end. The fakeness score pattern is also consistent with audio that's been processed beyond a normal live stage capture, and the absence of pre-death wording is consistent with novel sentences being assembled from smaller fragments. A third possibility is that this is a real Charlie private recording that, for whatever reason, TPUSA only used in this one production. It's the simplest explanation if you ignore all the issues, like the per second fakeness score pattern doesn't behave like the verified real audio I have on hand, and 3 out of 4 event attendees Candace Owens spoke to don't remember Charlie saying the line. And there's always something I haven't thought of. Speculation only, but the AI generation or stitching explanations fit the data better than real recording. I can't prove which is the right one from this evidence alone. Forensic experts running different tests, a leaked source file, a witness coming forward, any of those could change the picture, and I'll update if anything does. That's it for speculation. Also, Candace Owens published this freeze frame from Terrell Farnsworth's desktop in episode 328. TPUSA's head of AV, top left. Makes you wonder what's in that folder, huh? Now that you've seen everything, here's the AmFest 2025 opening one more time without any commentary. Strip overlay on the bottom, fakeness scores second by second, no pauses for me to explain.
In life, you will realize the more rewarding thing to do might be the more difficult thing to do. That is a guaranteed way that you will experience opposition.
The most important question is not whether it is easy or not. It is it worth it? And the more often that you choose the deep, the difficult, but the right path over the easy path is one that will reward you, your family, and this beautiful nation.
He fell believing.
We are in a spiritual war, everybody, that is beyond just the material that we are seeing. This country was founded by courageous Bible-believing Christians. Jeremiah 29:7, seek the welfare of the nation that you are in, because your welfare is tied to your nation's welfare. What makes this movement different is that you are here as a grassroots response to the top-down revolution happening in this country. Disobedience to tyrants is obedience to God, because liberty is not man's idea, it is God's idea. Will the people who are the sovereign in this country do everything they possibly can with this incredible blessing given to us by God to fight back and win? When Turning Point USA was started, I could not have imagined what God had in store for this organization.
My political journey was in the midst of the Obama craze in Chicago. As someone who was generally conservative, I realized this generation, millennials, is going to be the most progressive generation in history if we don't do something about this.
We're active in about 15 campuses, and we're growing very, very quickly. And keep in mind, this is not just a flash in the pan movement. We're going to become an institution to give them the power and the confidence to stand up and let their voice be heard.
I was 18, no idea what I was doing, no connections, no money. We didn't have an office, we didn't have a staff. It was just me just traveling the country doing this, pure grit, pure energy. We are an organization committed to ideas and to principles, not the political parties or politicians. We are in a generational battle right now that the stakes could not be higher. And the experiment and the gift that our founding fathers gave to us could be easily lost if we don't make the proper choices, the right course corrections.
That's a lot of people, Utah, I'll tell you what.
We should be thankful, not angry, to live in this country. Would you agree? We should be thankful. We should be kissing the ground and saying we are the luckiest human beings ever to exist, that we are able to live in this country at this time. And yet, I see that half our country seems upset. They seem angry that they're born in this country. America is the greatest country ever to exist, period, bar none. Is the greatest country ever to exist, right?
I want to honor God in all that I do. I want to be a great husband, a great father. I want to serve this country. I want to try to continue to lead this movement and to speak truth and to never lie. To stop thinking about yourself all the time and instead think about what you should do to help other people and to defend this country above yourself. You still live in the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world. There is still so much to be hopeful and to be thankful for. And we have agency.
When truth is under attack, America has always answered with voices that refuse to be silenced. Charlie was one of those voices, and now it's our turn to pick up the mic.
We have only begun to fight.
A lot of this could be done without me, and I believe that. I mean, from the high school department, the college department, let's make Turning Point so big that it can survive beyond just the founder. A lot of organizations and groups, as soon as a founder leaves, it just kind of collapses. A lot of my job is not always in the day-to-day details. It's very much vision casting, very much driving success. But we have a great board, and God forbid if something happens, they'll figure it out. I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job.
You are the heartbeat of this future and of this movement. Everything that Charlie built, you guys are the legacy holders of that. You are living proof that his mission did not die with him. It lives through you. And Charlie always said the next generation will decide whether freedom endures. And because of you, I know that freedom will endure.
The next speaker is a very, very special speaker, and she has had a heroic last year, and I believe she's the best mom in the world. She is my hero and the love of my life. Join me in welcoming Erika Kirk.
TPUSA. If you have a video pre-September 10th, 2025, where Charlie says, "I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me," release it. Blur the donor's face. Mute her voice. You are the one sitting on Charlie's original complete archive, his private events, his recordings. If you can't produce the video and instead keep making different excuses, which none of those, by the way, cover the release the original audio option, we have our answer with that alone.
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop.
More videos coming on more of these rabbit holes. Subscribe to catch them. Members on YouTube get them a day early.